Friday, 5 p.m. A 13-year-old girl slips $2 change into her windbreaker, steps off her porch, and vanishes before she can knock on a single door. What force deletes a child in open daylight on a quiet Ohio street? A 57-second phone call, misfiled for half a century, resurfaced last winter. A woman whispers, "He's putting her in the trunk." Cornell Drive. Timestamp, 5:07 p.m. 28 September 1973, the precise minute Sharon Pretorius disappeared. In 40 minutes, we will replay the missing 90 seconds frame by frame, feed half-forgotten clues through modern AI, and name 3 men police never charged. Stay until the last minute. You will hear the clean tape yourself. Before we start, one question. If you had 30 seconds alone with Sharon's abductor, what would you ask? Type it. Your words may shake loose the final lead. Picture Dayton, Ohio, early autumn. Sprinklers hiss over trimmed lawns. Radios hum pre-game chatter from the high school stadium. Sharon, freckles and hazel eyes, checks her coin roll at the porch rail, waves to her brother Mark, and promises to be back before dinner. The route ahead is barely 300 meters, a rectangle she can jog in 90 seconds. She steps onto Cornell Drive at 5:04 p.m. 2 neighbors glance up, see a slim figure in a pale blue jacket, and look away. By 5:07, Mark cracks the door, expecting her ponytail bobbing toward home. He meets an empty sidewalk and a single brown leaf tumbling in a breeze. Police will grid the street, crawling on hands and knees, and still miss the answer hiding in plain sight. 1 yellow sweater, a scuffed curb, half a tire print, all bagged, then ruined in a basement flood 12 years later. Witness memos vanish, cassette logs molder. Yet data never truly dies. It only waits for the right lens. Tonight, we focus that lens. We will shrink the search to a 90-second window, test whether an idling brown Chevy could lurk unseen, and decide if a payphone whisper was a terrified neighbor or the kidnapper's partner. The timeline begins now. Sharon's first leg runs along neat picket fences toward Marvin Avenue. At 5:30, she turns the corner. Mrs. Hilton, watering geraniums, clocks her at a glance. Pale jacket, ledger tucked tight, coins clinking like soft wind chimes. At 5:15, Sharon reaches the driveway of House 1, pauses, maybe to tighten her lace or smooth the ledger's bent edge, and then steps from view behind a cedar hedge. From that moment until 7:30, no living witness can place her. No engine backfire, no startled dog, no porch light flicker. 90 seconds drain from the street like color from a Polaroid left in sunlight. Investigators later paint chalk grids across Cornell. They log 3 objects: a yellow cable-knit sweater, neatly folded on a boxwood, a heel scuff on curb cement pointing north, half a polyglass E78 tread stamped into rain-soft clay near the intersection. None belongs to Sharon. Yet all 3 vanish when the evidence cellar floods in 1985. Only a blurred Polaroid survives, gloved hand, muddy rectangle, barely readable tag, item 3A. Why does that matter? FBI profilers call such a gap a snatch box. The abductor needs under 2 minutes to spot, close, subdue, stow, roll. It is precision crime performed at suburban tempo. Cornell's geometry should fight that plan. Houses spaced tight, porches facing street, clear lines to Forest Avenue, the lone exit. Yet traffic logs show Forest ran green at 5. A driver could ghost away in second gear. 51 years later, analysts feed those same coordinates into GeoPath, an AI that simulates every sightline per centimeter. The program paints 3 blind cones, wedges where a parked car vanishes behind hedges and swing-set frames. One wedge falls exactly at the corner where neighbor Janet W. remembers a dented brown Chevy idling, lights off. She told officers, "He was just sitting there." Her note is missing. Her voice may remain on the lost cassette. Hold that car. Engine ticking at 800 RPM, driver glancing at a watch, waiting for a slim shadow to clear the hedge. Next, we unspool the recovered tape, strip its rust hiss, and test whether the voice behind that whisper belonged to Janet or to someone standing far closer to Sharon than anyone guessed. Winter 2024. Dayton police haul 14,000 cassettes from a leaking basement and feed them one by one into a digitizer. On reel 7, labeled only Coroner Inquiry, Tech Tara Gillespie hears a hiss, a shaky inhale, then a whisper. He's putting her in the trunk. Cornell. Corner of Prescott. A door thumps, an engine idles, and the tape cuts dead at 57 seconds. Leader stamp, 5:07 p.m., 28 Sep. 1973. Sharon's missing minute. Modern software peels off the oxide buzz in layers like old paint. Beneath the whisper sits an 820 RPM idle. Harmonic signature matching mid-70s Chevrolet straight sixes, the same class that ran Goodyear polyglass tires. The ghost track and the muddy half-print suddenly talk to each other. Next, voice biometrics run against every recorded interview. The algorithm blinks 42% on Janet W., the neighbor who reported the idling Chevy. She died in 2015, but her grandson recalls her shaking when she mentioned the man across the street. No sworn statement survives, only a forgotten margin note in a log. Saw brown Chevy, lights off. Call trace codes place the payphone at an Exxon 2 blocks south, demolished in 94. The slab now hosts a vape shop, but ground radar still reads the soil below. Nothing human rests there, just rebar and crushed cans. Yet the point matters. The Exxon kiosk sat inside Geopath's middle blind cone. A driver could glide there, dial while adrenaline still kicked, then aim the Chevy North, gone in 90 seconds more. For 3 weeks, detectives cross-referenced DMV microfilm. Anyone in 1973 Dayton who owned a brown Chevy, paint code 2043. 13 names surface, 10 fallout. Scrapped cars, airtight alibis, out-of-state trips. 3 remain. One lived 3 doors from the Pretorius porch, called in sick that Friday, sold his car for cash 2 weeks later, moved south, and never returned. His name was Dennis Carl, a forklift driver with a record of petty assault. Details no reporter ever printed. Block 4 pulls Carl's life apart. Work logs, shoe size, sick notes, and a shaving brush his widow keeps in a tin. A few coarse nylon bristles may decide whether the whisper, the tire, and the blind cone all belong to him. Dayton DMV records show Dennis Carl bought his brown 1971 Chevy Nova on credit in March 72. By summer 73, the left fender carried a fresh dent. Body shop invoice, $45. Color matched 2043 brown. Carl's house, 317 Cornell Drive, sits 3 doors east of the Pretorius porch, well inside the Geopath blind cone. Factory time cards list him forklift operator. Afternoon shift, 2 p.m., 10 p.m., yet on 28 September the card is blank. Sick. No doctor slip filed. He returns Monday, quits Thursday, and advertises the Nova in a corner store window. For sale, cheap. Need gone. Cash bill of sale, dated 15 October, shows mileage jumped 143 miles in 2 weeks, and the dent now hammered flat. Interview notes from 1973 mention Carl once helped search the alley. Nobody asked where his car was during that hour. A neighbor recalls him washing the Nova late Friday night, hose spraying wheel wells till mud bled red over the gutter. Another neighbor saw him burn something in a metal barrel the next dawn. Flames blue-green, like synthetic fabric. Carl's personnel file lists height 5'11 inches, weight 180 pounds, shoe 10.5. The curb scuff near the hedge imprints size 10-11 with a shallow lateral drag, consistent with lifting weight then pivoting. Forensics rescans that Polaroid. AI depth map estimates pressure, matching 175-185. The numbers overlap like puzzle tabs. Carl died in 1999 of heart failure, cremated. His widow, Marlene, still keeps his old Gillette shaving brush. Nylon bristles glued to a cracked ivory handle. Detectives retrieve it under chain of custody. The lab washes each strand for root sheath. Mito DNA pending. If sequence matches the blonde hair trapped in Sharon's route notebook, the cold file becomes an active homicide. Marlene also turns over Carl's pocket diary. Last entry on 27 September. Need fix fender. Looks bad. No entry for the 28th. Next page ripped out. Stubs charred along the spine. Hidden in the back sleeve, a receipt. Exxon station. 2 gallons regular. Pumped 5 p.m. Total, 71 cents. Same station the payphone once faced. Everything now points inward. Carl's empty shift. The washed wheel wells, the Exxon timestamp, the brush. Yet proof still hangs on silent nylon fibers and a notebook hair. Block 5 follows those samples into the sequencer. If they speak, they may end a 51-year question with a single surname, Carl. The shaving brush bristles arrive at the state lab on a Tuesday morning. sealed inside 2 nested bags. Technician Louisa Chen immerses each strand in enzyme wash to loosen residue. Under a stereoscope, she spots 5 roots, still capped with translucent sheath. DNA gold. Across the hall, Sharon's faded notebook hair sits in a separate vial, recovered from police archive freezer after decades beside traffic accident slides. Its cuticle is brittle but intact. Keratin flakes like old paint when touched. Chen uses a microcentrifuge to spin both samples, pulls clear supernatant, then drops 4 microliters into a next-gen chip. The sequencer hums, LED bars blinking neon green. It parses 18,000 mitochondrial markers, compares them against one another and against global genealogical tables. Result prints 90 minutes later. Notebook hair and brush share haplogroup H5b, maternal line common in northern Germany. Probability of random match in Dayton's 1973 census, 0.32%. The computer flags it orange. Investigative lead, not courtroom proof. But cold case detective Maya Ortiz sees more. Both samples carry the same rare 9-base deletion in the ND2 gene. Frequency 1 in 6,000. That pushes coincidence odds below 1 in 3 million. Ortiz phones Marlene Carl. Outside speaker range, Marlene breathes hard, then says, "Dennis's mother came from Hamburg. He joked our kids would have German engines." She falls silent, tears muffled through nylon line. Lab policy demands nuclear DNA for a charge, yet Carl is ash. Ortiz drafts a warrant for dental brushings from Carl's sister living in Toledo. If nuclear loci align, they can close the loop. Meanwhile, she requests CODIS scan on notebook hair. If unknown male DNA rides the shaft, maybe an accomplice drove the Chevy while Carl hid in the trunk. Press embargo holds, but rumors leak. Dayton forums ignite. Brown Nova guy is back in play. Some users claim Carl once offered rides to paper boys, others call it witch hunt. Ortiz ignores the chatter and stares at the orange lab sheet. 51 years of dust just gained a statistical scream. Block 6 will chase that scream. Genealogy warrants, Louisville truck stop sightings from '74, and a barn loft where someone painted over rust that tested positive for human blood. Detective Ortiz reaches Toledo before dawn, warrant in hand. Carl's sister, Elise N., meets her at the porch, clutching a floral mug. She doesn't fight the order. She lays 3 items on the kitchen counter: Dennis's high school ring, his Marine-issue dog tags, and an old toothbrush he left after Thanksgiving '95. Ortiz swabs the bristles, seals them, drives back with the heat off so condensation won't cloud the evidence bag. At the lab, analyst Leo Park extracts a nuclear profile, 15 STR loci, full set. By noon, it sits beside the mitochondrial sheet like 2 halves of a jigsaw. Sharon's notebook hair yields a partial nuclear trace, 7 loci, enough for kinship stats. Software crunches numbers. Carl's sister is a first-degree relative to the hair at 99.96% confidence. The orange line on Ortiz's wall turns red. She runs the profile through CODIS. No direct hit, but 1 partial overlap pings. An unsolved abduction in Louisville, January 1974. Witness there, a truck stop cashier named Raylene Boyd, reported a brown Chevy Nova with Ohio plates smeared by mud. The driver bought gas, paid cash, and asked if cameras recorded at night. Plate fragment 9K7. Carl's Nova ended 9K71. Distance Dayton, Louisville, 170 miles, 3 hours night drive. Louisville PD faxes a case file. Missing girl, Andrea Kloss, age 14. Vanished from arrest area phone booth. Shoe prints at the scene were polyglass E78. Blood trace on asphalt matched no one then. The file has a Polaroid of a barn loft behind the truck stop. Old boards, fresh beige paint covering a splatter shape. Luminol test glowed blue. Deputies scraped chips, sealed them, then lost the envelope in storage. Ortiz requests the boards, ships them to the state lab. Park shaves edges. MicroDNA reveals same ND2 9-base deletion. Mito again H5b. Luis Gomez, genealogist under contract, starts building a Carl family tree across 6 generations, targeting male cousins alive in 1973. 5 names surface, 2 owned Chevys. 1. Harold Carl, Dennis's younger cousin, worked maintenance at that Louisville truck stop until spring '74, quit suddenly, moved west, no forwarding address. Block 7 will hunt Harold. Bank records, draft registrations, and a West Texas junkyard where a brown Nova frame still rusts under prairie sun. Private investigator Nate Ruiz drives 2 straight days to a windswept scrapyard outside Sweetwater, Texas. Row H12 holds a brown '71 Nova shell, V tag drilled out, paint sun-bleached to baked clay matte, left fender showing a hammered dent beneath cracked Bondo. Yard records say it arrived May 1974 on a flatbed from Ohio, seller listed only as Carl. Nate photographs every angle, mails soil and carpet scraps to Ohio. Dust in the trunk contains flecks of blue-green nylon, matching Sharon's sweater fiber chart. A single blonde strand tangles around a seatbelt bolt. Harold Carl, last address Amarillo, worked oil rig maintenance, fired 1978 for fighting. Draft card lists height 5 foot 10 inch, 178 pounds, shoe 10.5, the same silhouette that walks Sharon's curb. Bank subpoena shows $900 cash deposit in October 1973, 4 days after Dennis sold his Nova. Route map frames a clean triangle. Dayton, Louisville, Sweetwater. Ruiz checks county records. Harold bought 18 acres of scrubland in 1975, sold it 1982, house now collapsed. He drones over the site. Thermal imaging pings a cold void under caliche. Local deputies dig, reveal an oil drum cache of junk, rags, beer cans, and a rusted Marine K-bar. Serial range assigned to units stationed in Da Nang, 1969, Dennis's last post. Handle bears faint decay, Dennis Carl, but packing grease on the blade contains Harold's latent print, confirmed by APHIS from a 1980 assault arrest. The cousins shared more than DNA, they shared gear. Back in Ohio, the lab cross-checks trunk dust with Louisville barn paint, same ND2 deletion, same H5B haplotype. Probability of unrelated match plunges to 1 in 30 million. Detective Ortiz drafts arrest affidavit for Harold. Charges: aggravated kidnapping, accessory to homicide. Judge signs, U.S. Marshals flag his passport. Problem: Harold vanished, 1990, no tax trail since. Only clue: a P.O. box in Junction, Arizona, expired 1992. Ortiz circulates Harold's age-progressed sketch. Bald crown, sun-creased skin, marine eagle tattoo on right forearm. Tip line lights up from 3 states, all motel clerks recalling a silent handyman paying weekly cash. Block 8 chases those sightings over desert highways, a pawnshop ring with the initials SP, and a final phone ping near the Mexican border. A prepaid flip phone pings off a tower outside Ajo, Arizona, 8:17 p.m. April 12. SIM registered to John H., cash bought in Tucson the day before. Marshals trace the IMEI to 3 motel Wi-Fi logins across the Sonoran corridor, each under a different alias, each matching Harold Carl's age-progressed photo, minus the tattoo, long sleeves in desert heat. Detective Ortiz flies west, pairs with U.S.-Mexico Fugitive Task Force. Agent Valdez pulls pawn shop slips within 100 kilometers. One ticket sings, silver ring engraved SP, pawned for $40, Ajo, April 10th. The ring matches Sharon's class set, missing since '73. Valdez pulls CCTV. A weather-creased man, close-cropped white hair, right sleeve slides, revealing a blurred eagle anchor globe tattoo. Timestamp 1402. He limps slightly, left knee stiff. They canvass motels. Desk clerk at Sunbeam Motor Court recalls a quiet handyman calling himself Rick. Paid weekly in 20s. Left every night at 7, back by dawn, kept 2 duffel bags and a roll of Craftsman tools. Room 6 now empty. Key on counter, bill paid through Sunday. Inside, bleach smell clings. Sheets stripped, drain trap acid-eaten. In trash, torn corner of a MAPCO receipt from Benson, 200 kilometers east. Timestamp 1735. He doubled back, hiding his trail. Ortiz radios DHS. Border Patrol sets checkpoints along Highway 85. At 0312, a blue F-150 slows at Y, Arizona, then U-turns into scrub. Patrol truck gives chase, headlights off. Dust cloud hangs under a quarter moon. Night vision spots the truck abandoned at a dry wash, engine hot. Prints on steering wheel match Harold's 1980 assault card. Foot tracks veer south for 2 kilometers then vanish. Coyotes, dark ground, single set, left knee drag. In the truck bed, agents find Craftsman roll -2 tools and a sealed jar of mechanic's hand cleaner. Lab later finds trace of blonde keratin, ND2 deletion present. Seat pocket holds an expired Arizona driver's license, Harold Carl, 71, address blank. Border Patrol's infrared drones grid 20 kilometers south. At 0547, a lone heat signature moves toward a drainage culvert that feeds into Mexico. Search teams arrive 15 minutes later. The culvert is empty. Only fresh boot scuffs leading into darkness, shoe size 10.5. Block 9 will follow the trail across the border. Sonoita safe houses, a smuggler nicknamed El Sordo, and a desert well that glows under ground-penetrating radar. Mexican federal police sweep Sonoita streets by dawn, flashing Harold Carl's photo at tire shops and cafes near the Lukeville crossing. A tacon vendor swears he served the old gringo the night before. 2 carne no salsa, walked with a stick. He points to a graffiti-tagged motel behind his cart. Room 4 reeks of bleach and diesel. Under the mattress lies a U.S.-Mexico road atlas, annotated in pencil. Circles around Puerto Peñasco, Caborca, and a dot at Rancho Santa Teresa. 40 kilometers into desert. Margin scrawl reads Swell Berry. Agent Valdez links the ranch to a smuggler called El Sordo, the deaf one, who runs migrants north, guns south. His lieutenants use code numbers. 51 appears often in ledgers. Sharon vanished 51 years ago. Coincidence? Maybe. Yet Valdez leans in. Federal convoy rolls at noon. 5 pickups biting dust. 2 clicks from Rancho Santa Teresa. They cut engines. Hike on foot. Heat haze liquefies mesquite trunks. A lone windmill creaks above a stone well. Fresh tire ruts arc to its lip. Boot prints size 10.5 lead from the ruts to the well cap. Rope fibers snagged on masonry match Craftsman tow line missing from Harold's tool roll. Police drop a GoPro on cable. 40 meters down, lens finds blue-green nylon snagged on a rivet, identical shade to Sharon's lost sweater. Silt swirls. Another object glints. A brass marine dog tag stamped D. Carl 205406789. Harold may have hauled his cousin's keepsake across a continent. While divers rig a tripod, a lookout jeep roars from the ranch. Shots crack. Agents return fire. The jeep fishtails, rear tire shredded, driver slumps. Inside pocket, a burner phone's last text reads, Viejo crosses tonight, 22 hours. Old man crosses. GPS history shows pings along an arroyo that feeds into the Pinacate lava fields. Ortiz radios chopper support. Night vision can trace one heat source against cooled basalt. If Harold makes that crossing, he reaches cartel territory beyond routine patrols. Divers raise a sodden evidence bag, sweater fibers, dog tag, and a small silver ring engraved SP, Sharon Pretorius. The well just spoke. Block 10 follows the chase into black volcanic rock, a hidden tunnel mouth, and a final stand beneath a sky bright with border flares. Helicopter rotors thump above the Pinacate lava beds. Rotor wash, rippling heat shimmers. Forward-looking infrared locks on a lone figure hobbling south. Body temp, bright white, surrounding basalt near black. Agents fast rope 200 meters ahead, lie flat until blades fade. Dust settles. Night hush returns, broken only by a rasping cough echoing between ridges. Harold Carl drags his left leg, knee stiff, rifle sling digging into shoulder. He dips behind a rock spire. Unaware, a laser rangefinder now tracks every step. Ortiz signals by hand. 2-team pincer. Valdez circles west. Ruiz east. 10 minutes crawl by. Stars bloom overhead. Flares burst on the border horizon like silent fireworks. Carl reaches a collapsed lava tube. A plywood hatch, spray-painted 51, covers a stair hole. He heaves it open, descends. Ruiz peers over the rim. Tunnel walls mottled with soot, PVC air pipe snaking down. smuggler's hide. Ortiz flicks a glow stick, tosses it. Green bloom reveals bedroll, empty water jug, craftsman's socket wrench. A dripping trails deeper. They move. 20 meters in, tunnel widens into a grotto lit by a single battery lamp. Harold kneels, rummaging a duffel. He hears boots crunch, swings a revolver, fires, shot goes wide. Valdez's beanbag round answers, slamming his ribs. Gun clatters. Harold collapses, gasping. Ortiz cuffs him, reads Miranda in Spanish and English. He spits dust, rasps. Too late. On his forearm, the eagle anchor globe tattoo, now blotched with age, but unmistakable. Inside the duffel, bleach bottle, duct tape roll, mechanic's hand cleaner half used, and a Polaroid. Sharon's 8th grade photo, creased along the smile. A cooler beside the bedroll holds melted ice and a small vial marked DNA Sordo. Lid cracked, liquid spilled. Valdez photographs, seals it. The grotto's far wall shows scratch tallies, 51 vertical lines and 1 fresh slash turning the grid into 52. Carl mutters, "One more," and then the noise stops. Agents haul him topside. Medics tape his ribs. Chopper lifts, desert wind blowing grit over the plywood hatch. Down below, water drips onto basalt, echoing like a metronome. Block 11 will cross an interrogation room where Harold breaks his silence, reveal the meaning of 52, and test whether the duffel's traces bind him to Sharon beyond doubt. Border Patrol medevac lands at Yuma Sector HQ 205. Harold Carl's vitals, BP 158.94, rib bruise, 34 degrees Celsius core from dehydration. He refuses water, stares at one ceiling tile. Detective Ortiz starts the tape. She reads the rights again. He answers only with a faint whistle through cracked lips. For 2 hours, she sits silent across the table, letting the buzz of the AC mark time. At 4:17, he rasps, "Did you pull the well?" When she nods, his shoulders sag, almost relief. "Took you long enough," he says. Ortiz slides a photo, Sharon's silver ring on an evidence scale. His pupils flick. "That noise in my head," he mutters. "Starts when the first paper hits the porch, stops when she's home. 51 summers of noise, 1 more year in quiet." The tally wall clicks into focus. Years, not bodies. He planned to cross, vanish, and score the last line on his 72nd birthday. She presents the duffel inventory. Bleach, duct tape, hand cleaner, Sharon's creased Polaroid. "Where did you get the picture?" He smirks. "Brother left the door unlocked during the search." Next image. Strand of blonde hair under microscope. ND2 deletion tagged. "Yours?" His jaw twitches. Silence again. Forensics update pings Ortiz's phone. Duffel's hand cleaner jar holds partial nuclear DNA. 11 STR loci, matching the shaving brush profile at sibling probability 99.98%. The same jar carries blue-green nylon fibers, identical to those in the well. Chain tightens. Hand cleaner, jar, duffel, tunnel, Harold. She lays the report on the table. He studies it, hands trembling. "You don't have body," he whispers. Ortiz answers, "We have Sharon's sweater, her ring, her hair, your cousin's dog tag, and your DNA on everything." Carl's breath staggers. A single tear tracks dust on his cheek. He asks for a priest. Outside, dawn splits eastern sky. Ortiz steps into pale pink light, scrolls her phone. Lab also flagged trace female DNA on tunnel duct tape. Unknown profile, possibly another victim. Noise in Harold's head might never end. Block 12 follows plea negotiations. A map Harold draws showing rest stops and a freezer chest buried under a Texas mesquite. Federal court appoints defense counsel at 10 a.m. Harold Carl watches lawyers shuffle, fingers drumming Morse on plastic cuffs. He leans to public defender Grant Hale. "Quiet for life or I talk." Hale relays message. Harold will trade bodies for a guarantee he dies in a U.S. prison hospital, not a Mexican cell. Prosecutor Lyon nods once, slides across a yellow pad. "Full cooperation. Truthful map, no parole, medical wing." Carl scratches initials HK in a drab interview room. He spreads highway maps of Ohio, Kentucky, Texas. Red dots bloom along interstates. Rest areas, phone booths, truck stops. He circles one in West Texas. Mile marker 312. Notes freezer under mesquite. 74. Ortiz asks how many dots hold victims. He taps 7. Boys turn wrenches, girls fold easy, he says, voice flat. Ink smears under sweaty thumb. Task force convoy rolls south that night. Mesquite Patch sits on disused ranch once leased to Harold's cousin. Ground radar sweeps, finds rectangle hollow 2 meters down. Deputies shovel into hardpan until steel squeals. A chest freezer, lid welded shut, bolts shear, dry ice fog billows. Inside, brittle nylon rope, blue-green sweater scrap and vinyl wallet embossed AC. Andrea Kloss, missing Louisville, 1974. No remains. Only a bag of dark soil, mite-eaten. Soil tests later revealed degraded bone dust and canine hair. Carl dumped cremains, scrubbed evidence, and salted guilt with ammonia. Forensics vacuums freezer grooves. DNA swabs match Harold's profile at 99.9%. One hair root, ND2 deletion absent, yields a new female mitochondrial line. Proof at least one more unknown victim traveled in that trunk. Ortiz radios Lyon. Deal stands, but now grand jury will add interstate homicide counts. Carl draws one final star on Arizona border map, whispers, "Last parcel." Teams fly infrared grid. Behind an abandoned way station, they find a cement slab etched with the number 52. Jackhammers crack concrete. Under rebar lies empty space, freshly swept, smelling of bleach. Ortiz stares into the pit. Noise in Harold's head almost finished the grid before they closed in. Records for the abandoned way station show it poured July 1976. Subcontractor Carl Hauling, Sweetwater, Texas. Same summer, 14-year-old Marisol Delgado vanished for 36 hours along I-10, then reappeared barefoot at a gas station outside Fort Stockton. File buried as runaway. No DNA kit. Ortiz tracks Marisol, now Marisol Sanchez, 63, nursing aide in El Paso. She agrees to talk, voice trembling over tea. Marisol's memory, brown Chevy Nova, dented fender, driver called himself Rick, flashed Marine dog tags, offered ride to San Antonio. She woke, tied in a trunk stinking of bleach, engine droning slow, like a lullaby you hate. When the car stopped, she heard 2 men argue, one gruff, one softer, maybe deaf. Gruff voice hissed, "We wait, slab's not ready." Later, trunk cracked. Driver pulled her out near billboard lights, saw state trooper cruiser flash by, panicked, shoved her into Mesquite ditch and sped off. She limped 3 miles to gas station, told attendant she'd jumped from a ride. Shame kept her silent for decades. Ortiz shows Harold's photo, age regressed to 76. Marisol nods, tears streaking. Tape rolls. She recounts, dog tag glare, bleach reek, number 51 scrawled on trunk lid. Prosecutor Lyon listens live. This is survivor testimony, no missing remains, no hearsay. Lab compares Marisol's old hospital gown, archived by chance, to fibers from trench slab. Identical cement dust, same batch ID from Carl Hauling job. Trooper logs confirm cruiser passed way station 2214, July 18, 1976, within Marisol's timeline. Ortiz confronts Harold with recorded statement. He taps Morse on cuffs. ... SOS. Slab wasn't ready, he mutters, noise too loud. He signs amended confession, admits abducting Marisol, intent to kill once slab cured. Plea deal now void. Prosecutor files capital charges across 3 states. Harold stares at blank wall, whispering counts, 49, 50, 51, stops before 52. Noise unfinished. Forensics returns to slab pit, scans concrete powder. Among lime specks, they find microgold flake matching dental filling alloy. Tooth fragment yields mitochondrial H5B, linking slab to Carl line. Pit becomes crime scene, Marisol's testimony anchor bolt. News breaks at dawn. Harold Carl charged with capital murder across Ohio, Kentucky, and Texas. Cable crawls loop his mugshot. Rust brown Nova behind split screen. Dayton schools hold a moment of silence. Cornell Drive homeowners string blue ribbons on porch rails. Sharon's brother Mark, now 64, Steps to microphones outside county court. Mom kept the porch light on, 51 years. Tonight I think she can rest. Clips go viral. Hashtag porch light for Sharon trends top 3 in the U.S. Inside arraignment, the judge denies bond. Carl listens through cracked hearing aid. Nods when charges read. Eyes flat as weathered slate. Prosecutor Lyon files motion to transfer him to Ohio first. Symbolic home field for the jury. Defense objects, citing medical decline. Judge overrules. Trial set for March, streamed gavel to gavel. That afternoon, State Lab emails final report. Nuclear STRs from Carl's sister and toothbrush align with the blonde notebook hair at 99.997%. Secondary YSTRs pulled from trunk dust secure a paternal link. Chain now runs, Carl's Nova, trunk dust, Sharon's hair, Harold's DNA. Lab also isolates a trace of Sharon's mitochondrial line on Craftsman rope from the duffel. Likely transference during original abduction. Ortiz prints the report, walks it to Mark Pretorius. He exhales, says only, "Thank you for not quitting." Media swarm, 3 states. Louisville reopens Andrea Kloss case. Texas Rangers tag unsolved rest area kidnappings for Carl pattern. A podcast binge drops 10-part series within a week, prompting 42 new tips. Truck stop sightings, missing hitchhikers, a mechanic who recalls bleaching a Nova bench seat in '74. Cold case unit triages leads, some wild, one promising. An Arkansas badge number scribbled on Carl's map beside a rest stop. Detective Ruiz hits the road again. Meanwhile, Marisol Sanchez sits with trauma counselor. Court arranges her travel, witness prep, and security. She asks if she must face Carl. Prosecutor says only if she chooses. She nods once, steady. Sharon's silver ring, sweater fiber, and dog tag rest in a climate vault awaiting trial. Porch light at Cornell still burns each evening, but Mark unscrews the bulb at midnight for the first time in half a century. Court date approaches like thunder. Reporters camp on courthouse steps. News choppers hover, droning louder than the Nova's old straight 6. Prosecutor Lyon loads evidence slides. The recovered tape, geopath cones, trunk dust micros, freezer fibers, Marisol's sworn video, and last, a porch light photo fading from white to warm gold. Jurors will sit inches from Sharon's ring, engraved initials glinting under gallery lights. Harold Carl spends 23 hours a day in a medical cell, ribs mended, IV line taped to spotted arm. He no longer taps Morse. The silence he chased now walls him in. When guards wheel him past a TV, he lowers his eyes. Mark's press clip plays in loop. Psych nurse notes nightmares. Harold wakes gasping, 5-2, then muttering numbers in reverse, 51, 50, 49, as if erasing the tally one mark at a time. In Dayton, volunteers build a small garden beside Cornell Drive, 3 maples and a plaque etched with Sharon's smile. Mark plants the first sapling at dusk, presses soil, and says, "Ground keeps secrets, let it keep life instead." A drone shot of the garden will open the documentary's closing scene. The video you're crafting now ends inside the courtroom. Camera pushes past oak doors, settles on an empty jury box. A single seat bears Sharon's blue-green sweater, folded, placeholder for the child who never came home. VO delivers the punch. 51 years ago, a girl vanished in a 90-second gap. Today, 12 citizens will decide if decades can fold back and give that gap a name. Cut to black. Then the phone call, cleaned, balanced, plays in full. Viewers hear the whisper, the trunk thump, the idle engine. On-screen text fades in. If you have information about any missing person linked to Harold Carl or Dennis Carl, call 1-800-CALL-FBI or your local cold case unit. A final beat of silence, no music, lets the plea settle. Roll credits over a time-lapse of the porch light dimming at midnight, bulb cooling to dark. After 51 years, the Pretorius family finally switches it off. Not because hope died, but because truth now burns brighter than any filament.